This episode of Headlock Talk is brought to you by Austin-based company Naturally Hemp's and their new line of CBD gummies. These gummies are made with 100% baked-in, pharmaceutical-grade, non-isolate-based CBD. What we're talking about here is the entourage effect. The entourage effect refers to the stronger effect you get when combining multiple cannabinoids together, as opposed to just CBD. Full-spectrum CBD, or CBD distillate, tends to be more potent and lasts longer. Unlike some other brands that use a spray-on CBD, Naturally Hemp CBD distillate is baked in, so you know you're getting the full dose with each gummy. I personally use them for all kinds of things, like sleep aid or muscle pain. And did I mention they taste great? They got 5 flavors. Strawberry, green apple, lemon lime, watermelon, and get this, the orange flavor has vitamin C in it. Ooh. So, if this sounds like something you could go for, head over to your nearest Create a Sig vape shop and pick yours up today to see for yourself the difference Naturally Hemp's gummies can make in your life.
So I really just want to get your opinion on this. What if, at the end of Money in the Bank, instead of Brock Lesnar coming out and grabbing the briefcase, it's actually Eugene?
Eugene?
Eugene.
Oh, man. I mean, I might have received it a little bit better than the way I did with Brock, perhaps.
I would have.
Yeah.
I absolutely would have.
I could tell that you probably would have received it better than with Brock.
See, the best thing about that, I think, would have been the memes.
Yeah.
There would have been some great memes.
Yeah, it would have been a classic moment.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I mean, who would you have Eugene face, Kofi or Seth?
I think if you actually want to, if you want to make it into like an actually decent storyline,
yeah.
I would probably say Kofi would do that a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think just because I don't know, Seth is on this like serious kick, you know, like
maybe,
and I think Kofi could maybe make it a little funnier. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just thoughts popping into my head.
Yeah. You know what thoughts are popping into my head right now?
What's that?
This episode of Headlock Talk, ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. Indeed. I am, of course, your host, the Texas gentleman Tanner Pruitt.
Whoa!
Yeah. Trying something new this week.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Texas gentleman.
That totally caught me off guard.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's good.
I feel fresh.
Okay.
I'm going to try
like
that
a
out.
Texas gentleman.
Yeah, it's a new gimmick I'm going with here.
Fair enough.
And then, of course, you, sir, you are the one and only Mr. Stephen Grudy.
I am. Hello.
Hello, Stephen.
Yeah.
So just right off the top here, of course, obviously we're going to cover the Money in the Bank review, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if that intro gave you any hint on how we thought of the show, but
well, we're about to find out.
We are,
right?
Yeah.
It's my 4th year wedding anniversary today.
Hey!
So happy anniversary to me.
Happy anniversary, man. Yeah.
No,
totally.
just kidding. Happy anniversary to my lovely wife, Mrs. Headlock Talk.
Yes.
She's away at a concert right now in San Antonio, so she's having a blast.
Nice.
Yeah.
That
So happy wedding anniversary, Michelle. I hope you're enjoying your concert.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I do just want to point out.
Yeah.
Last week's episode, if you listened to it, we did point out at the top that we had some technical difficulties. We are back.
They seem to be fixed.
We are good. Yeah, just wanted to point that out. That was a one-time thing. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. We're back in business. Obviously, everything's working just fine right now.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I just kind of want to get your initial thoughts, Stephen, on Money in the Bank. It was something.
Yeah, it was definitely something. It's one of the weaker WWE pay-per-views that I've seen. Really. I don't know. Even the best parts of the show were just kind of lackluster, in my opinion. And then on top of that, there was a lot that I really could have done without.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some good moments for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll dive deeper into it. I mean, I definitely have some highlights, and we'll point those out as we go. Yeah, it just seemed to be I think we anticipated a lot more from the show than what we got in return. I think there were certain spots where the action was great, and then just other parts of it were a little bit underwhelming. A lot of the results, I think could have been better. But let's let's take a dive into it and see what's going on here.
Yeah.
So Money in the Bank actually started with the opener. On the pre-show was Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan versus the Usos, which we kind of caught midway through. The action seemed fine at first, but forgive me, I was under the impression at first that this was for the tag team titles, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the Usos beat Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan on SmackDown previously.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought that was going to be like, hey, now that they beat them in the non-title match, they're going to make this one for the titles.
Right.
But that was not the case.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I think that we would have had a better handle on it if we didn't catch it halfway through.
Right. Possibly. Actually, hold on. I think Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan actually won on SmackDown, so they had this match. I don't know how they planned this out.
Oh, it was kind of weird, but I think if it was going to be for the belts, it would be on the main card.
I would hope so. But I swear I thought it was going to be for the titles. Anyway, I mean, it was definitely a good back and forth match from everything that we saw, and like I said, we came in like right about midway through it. Jimmy and Jay Uso beat Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, so I mean, I would imagine at this point now that they should be in line for a title shot. But we'll have to wait and see if that comes to fruition.
We'll have to wait and see if this win means anything.
We know that there's a real 50-50 shot with that, Steve.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, following that, the actual Money in the Bank opened with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match for the women's championship shot. So we had Bayley versus Carmella versus Dana Brooke versus Ember Moon versus Mandy Rose. Sonya Deville was at ringside. Naomi, Natalya, and Nikki Cross were also in the match. So I thought this was fine, for the most part.
Yeah,
it was good. Carmella got injured early on and was helped out to the back. Steven's giving some air quotes here.
I mean, possibly. Yeah.
So she was helped out to the back. Fine action, pretty good at first or throughout the match.
There was this spot where like Naomi, they had 4 girls holding up 2 of the ladders, and Naomi like ran across them and gave a kick. That was a really cool spot.
There was a pretty cool spot. A lot of it seemed very coordinated. I'm sure they did a lot of practicing beforehand. Which I think is fine. I think that you should plan ladder matches to make it seem a bit more organized. But where they kind of lost me here, and maybe I'm just the only one, and maybe I'm not, I don't know. But they had Carmella come back from her quote-unquote injury. And she was selling the leg. It was taped up. It was fine. But she like comes out and she uses her bad leg to super kick Mandy Rose, I believe. And it's like, okay, so you super kicked her, and then she no-sold super kicking with the bad leg.
And then, like, ran with like...
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like... And I know that she's not the only one on the roster who does that. I know there are other people, but it's just one of those nitpicky things about me, I guess. My OCD kicks in.
I mean, the weird thing about it for me, I agree with you on this point. It was kind of strange. I think the match honestly would have been better without it, just because at Money in the Bank, it's a pay-per-view. You want to see something big, and with them setting up that angle, it almost set up for Carmella to win, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's cool. It's like, oh, we're not going to do what you think we're going to do.
Yeah, swerve.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're not going to have Carmella win, then why even take time away from the match to try to sell this injury and try to sell this angle and have Carmella not even win?
Yeah. I mean, the finish here was Sonya Deville played an important part. She hoisted Mandy Rose on her shoulders and climbed the ladder, so we all got to see how much of a feat of strength Sonya Deville was able to do. She hoisted her again on her shoulders and climbed up a ladder, which, I mean, that's stuff that firefighters do. So she hoisted up Mandy Rose, and they were met at the top of the ladder by Bayley, who sprinted up the ladder, knocked off Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, and then claimed the briefcase for herself. So An interesting post-match interview followed where, she mentioned Sasha Banks, and I kind of got tipped off a little bit. Tipped, not ticked. I looked at you right as she said Sasha Banks' name. And I kind of thought, okay, well, are they going to reintroduce Sasha? Or have they cleared up all the issues? Or was it just like, hey, obviously Sasha's still under contract with us. We could talk about her all we want.
Right.
But we haven't seen Sasha Banks come back as of yet.
Yeah.
Would you expect to see Sasha Banks back?
Yes.
Okay.
Before this, it was kind of up in the air for me. But I think after this, definitely, I do see her coming back. Mm-hmm. Just because, Vince doesn't let a lot of the talent go out without lines and without a script and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't see Bayley saying that for no reason, basically.
I hope so. I hope we do see Sasha Banks back sooner rather than later. I think she's an amazing talent, obviously, and I hope that again we can see her back on television.
Yeah.
But her time off is definitely well deserved, I think.
Oh yeah.
Following that, oh gosh. Oh well. First off, star ratings for the women's match.
So I initially gave it a 2.
Yeah,
a little low. I will be honest. I was expecting a little bit more out of this match.
Yeah.
That's possibly my fault that I let myself get hyped up for it or whatever. I just think with the Carmella angle making it a little weird, and I don't think Bayley sold her win very well. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go 2, maybe 2.5 stars.
Yeah. I'm going with about 2.5 myself here. I think it would have been a solid 3. And again, I'm super nitpicking on this, and I apologize if anybody doesn't understand the rationale, but this is just how I feel, I guess. I would have given it the full 3 if it weren't for the Carmella swerve with, of course, the using of the super kick with the injured leg,
the no sell.
That really miffed me for some reason. And again, that's just my rationale. If y'all feel differently, that's obviously you're entitled to your own opinions. And I would love to hear your feedback, of course. So
very professional.
Oh well, thank you. This next match though, I just don't know. U.S. title match, Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. My notes here literally say, well, that took like 2 minutes. It's very unfortunate, really. Samoa Joe got, I believe, his nose broken within the first 2 minutes of the match.
For real? Yeah,
for real, got his nose broken. So, apparently, allegedly, somebody, sent a message over to the referee over his earpiece, hey, let's send this match home and cut it off early, and they did. I gave it 1 star. For the allotted amount of time that they were given, it wasn't that great. Ray obviously came away with the victory, which is fine, but we did not get the match that I think a lot of people were hoping for, and it's unfortunate because it's not their fault.
Right. Yeah, this is one of the more unfortunate parts of the card, just because I too gave it a 1 star rating for this. If it all went to plan and they gave it a little bit more time, I do think that some momentum could have been built, and it would have turned into a decent match.
Right.
But with it being cut short, so short, there really wasn't a lot of momentum build up. The thing with Dominic seemed super quick, so yeah, I'm going 1 star. I was really hoping for something good out of this one.
So, and I want to make a quick note here, and the reason why I'm giving it 1 star and not just a no rating for this here. This began a pattern for the evening where the referee counted to 3 and Samoa Joe's shoulders were way off the canvas.
Yep.
And
Corey Graves even pointed it out in a replay.
Yeah, he was like, his shoulders are up. Why did the ref count to 3 and all this stuff? And it's like, why did he?
That's a good question. Thank you, Corey.
This is a valid point.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe's obviously struggling. I don't know if he just didn't get the word or what the deal was, but I mean, he definitely didn't have his shoulders to the mat. So maybe this story continues. You know, I mean, they obviously played up Joe beating up Ray after the match and Dominic kind of getting involved.
Yeah.
You know, we'll just have to wait and see, man.
Yeah.
So Miz versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage match.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what do you want from me here?
Yeah.
Like, it was fine. More ref shenanigans.
Yeah, and it was a bad one too. There was a solid. Go ahead.
So there's conflicting things here with these rules, apparently, right? Like, I thought because The Miz introduced a steel chair somewhere in the middle of the match that this was no DQ.
Right.
Right.
Well, most steel cage matches usually are
Naturally
correct?
a no DQ match.
Yeah.
Right. But somehow the ref decided to implement a rope break rule here because The Miz had a pinning situation with Shane, and Shane put his foot on the ropes, and the ref stopped the count. And it's like, no, there's no rope breaks here in a no disqualification match.
Yeah.
And again, Corey and Cole, Corey Graves and Michael Cole pointed this out. Why is there a rope break? What's going on with these referees here? Like,
but there was another moment of shenanigans again in the same match where Miz had Shane pinned, and the ref just kind of refused to start the count.
Right.
And then, you know, Shane got back up, and then the match continued. But there was a solid 5 seconds where everyone in the arena is looking at the ref like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I don't know. This match was very strange.
It was. Shane escaped the cage. It was almost what I called, where there was a predicament. Shane was headed out of the cage. Miz catches up with him. But the finish is the Miz only had Shane's shirt, and then Shane basically shimmies out of his shirt, and his feet touch the floor first, and Miz is up at the top of the cage, looking like a big old dork with the Miz's shirt in his hands.
Even though he should have won twice in that match.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And which is sad, you know, I mean, I feel for the Miz. He should have had a win by now, but I guess they're going to have to find the finish somewhere soon, later on down the road, and end this whole charade. It's been, So you can already tell, guys, here throughout the course of this episode so far, Steven and I are not having the greatest of time with watching Money in the Bank at this point.
No. And again, we talked about this. Maybe part of that is our fault, you know, hyping up matches that maybe shouldn't have been hyped up or whatever. But man, it's just not a lot. Not a lot to like.
Things started to pick up here, though.
Yeah.
So we had.
I do want to give my rating for that.
Oh
match.
yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm giving it 1.5 or 2 stars. Take your pick.
Okay.
The actual match itself, 2 stars. It was decent. Kind of almost a cookie cutter steel cage match in my opinion, but with the botched finish, or not botched finish, but you know the weird ref counts.
All the weird.
I'll have to take half a star off for that. So
yeah, I'm going 1.5.
Yeah,
it did. Look, this isn't doing anything for me anymore, and the referee situation made it even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to take points off for the referee thing. Business started to pick up though a little bit here.
Yes.
Tony Nese versus Arya Daivari was a pretty good match. It was kind of disappointing. I saw some video footage from Twitter that somebody took from the crowd. People were getting up and leaving during the match to go to concessions or take a bathroom break or whatever.
Which funny enough, I thought this was one of the best matches on the card.
One of the better ones.
Definitely the best match up until that point. So
nice. Well, I thought there was some really good back and forth here. Very decent action. Tony Nese retains the title. I did think on a couple of occasions Arya Daivari was going to pull it off and get the upset here. But Tony Nese retains.
Yeah.
So good on him. They're making the 205 title that look strong.
Honestly, that's the big thing for me is that the cruiserweight division is finally getting some pay-per-view time.
Right.
And I think that they took that opportunity and ran with it. I think it was a really solid match. Had really great ring work, and both guys sold everything really well.
Right.
And then, just the fact that 205 Live's finally getting some screen time makes me really happy for those guys.
Yeah, truly. So, I gave that about 3 stars.
I also gave it 3 stars.
Definitely above average.
Yep.
Good action.
For sure.
Liked it. Becky Lynch comes out, and the crowd actually finally comes alive.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
They've been pretty dead up until that point.
Yeah, after all the ref shenanigans, I don't blame them. But...
That's fair.
Yeah. So, Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans. Becky Lynch retains by submission here. Lacey didn't look super great ring-wise. I thought that she sold very well. She was very expressive. But, and this is nothing on her, I think she just needs more time.
Yeah.
Like, I would have taken her as a bigger threat had she had more ring time to get things in, because when they put the promo packages together, it was just clips of her beating up the same 2 women over and over again.
Right.
And that, to me, doesn't make her look very strong.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you. That was the biggest point in the match for me of giving it as low of a rating as I did.
Yep.
Lacey Evans, man, she did not look good.
I mean, I just think she just needs more time.
Yeah, and plus when you go out with Becky Lynch, Becky has super solid ring work.
Yeah,
super solid. And if you're comparing them, I mean, you have no choice but to compare them while they're in the same match. And if you compare the ring work of the two in that match, it's night and day.
Yeah. I would agree. Unfortunately, there were more referee shenanigans in this match too.
Yeah.
So Becky was pinned for well over a 3 count. The referee did not even bat an eye. It seemed he did not count anything here.
Yeah.
Becky rolled over Lacey Evans and got the disarmer, and that was all she wrote here. Lacey taps out to the disarmer. At this point in the show, I was like, is this ref thing, is it like an angle? Like, are the referees going to start going on strike like they did in the NFL?
I was almost positive that this was an angle.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
It still could be.
It possibly. Like I remember in the NFL a few years ago, or maybe this was a lot longer than a few years ago. I don't remember.
Time,
man. Like the referees went on strike, and then like the NFL had to hire like a bunch of like high school referees, and they kept botching decisions.
Oh, great.
So maybe they're like gonna do an angle where all the referees are outside with picket like signs and like we want respect.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe.
And then like we get more bad referee decisions from some scrub referees.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then we end up getting one of the refs as the new 24/7 champion.
A 5-on-5 referee match at Survivor Series to keep the jobs.
Yeah.
It'd be great. I really want this to happen now.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I gave this one about 2 stars. It was
I also
fine.
gave it 2 stars. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I really am starting to wonder if I'm the only one, or if I'm just being so nitpicky that nothing is going to satisfy me. But I don't think that, and I really think that it could have been better.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ref stuff had been bumming me out pretty bad.
Yeah, 100%.
Right after that, Charlotte comes out, and
right after.
Yeah, right after. So Charlotte comes out, and she's like, "All right, here's our match. Our match is about to start." And that throws Becky off real bad.
Yeah.
So this was fine. Charlotte did her thing. She beat up on Becky. Becky looked super sympathetic. And then, of course, more shenanigans.
Of course.
Lacey interferes in the match.
and
gives the women's right.
Yeah. And that's enough to help Charlotte seal the deal and become this SmackDown Women's Champion. Okay. So the Lacey and Becky stuff is going to continue on, and I hope that maybe Lacey picks up a few things from Becky.
Yeah.
As we go here, but Charlotte's reign was not to be a long-term reign here.
No.
They're really just padding the numbers here for Charlotte
100%,
at this point.
Yeah.
Because
Charlotte 9-time technically.
Bayley comes right out to the ring because Lacey and Charlotte are attacking Becky, and Bayley heads out to the ring, cleans house, cashes in the Money in the Bank title.
Takes her time
to
decide or not.
Yeah, I mean, she killed Charlotte good.
Yeah, she was kind of just like looking around.
Should I do it? She played to the crowd a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Crowd was already chanting for Bayley after the match was over anyway. And so she cashes in, heads up top rope, and hits that elbow drop. 1, 2, 3. Bayley's your new champ.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. You sound a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, so look, I gave the Becky Charlotte match about 1.5 to 2, and I did not give the Bayley Charlotte match any rating at all. I mean, it was one move. Really, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm actually going to rate this?
Yeah.
Look, it's fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. At this point, I'm starting to get really depressed.
Yep.
About the show. There's a segment. Roman Reigns is walking out to the ring. He's the big dog. Got the big dog energy. And then we see Elias, a man who is probably about 6'3" and weighs probably about 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Tiptoes behind Roman Reigns and then smashes him with a guitar.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns is laid out backstage, and then Elias makes his way out to the ring.
Elias sit through another Elias segment. This one somehow more annoying than normal.
I think it's the electric guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know how often he gets to play electric versus acoustic, but they are very different things.
They are.
So, yeah, we were subjected to some electric guitar play by Elias.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't great.
No. That's
being
a nice
generous.
way of putting it. Yeah.
Roman comes out and he he recovers miraculously from the guitar shot.
Yeah.
And then the referee's in the ring. Roman spears Elias. And that's all she wrote.
Yep.
It was another one-move match.
Yep.
And at this point, I was so frustrated. I gave it a -2 stars. Our first minus
anything
rating for a match in the history of Headlock Talk. -2 stars. I'm not giving it the full -5, but geez.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, you've done literally nothing for me. Every match has had stupid shenanigans so far, whether it's referees or whether it's poorly, sold bits, or whether it's bad decisions.
Yeah, with this one, I pretty much... So I initially gave it a -2 stars as well. I remember saying that there's no way they could make me care about this match less, and then they did. I don't know how they did that, but they did. But I am now giving it -1 instead of -2.
That's generous.
Only because this saved us from having an actual match.
True.
So,
and maybe I'm being a bit harsh. My notes here...
Oh, you're not at all.
My notes here literally read, spear after Elias does his bit, F off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So...
I mean, that pretty much sums it up. So, we'll average them out -1.5 stars.
There you go.
This was not a good bit.
This has not been a good show up to this point.
Not at all.
But you know what saved this show? This next match.
True.
AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins for the Universal title. In my opinion, this was really, really good.
Yeah.
It definitely... I think it delivered on the hype.
Mm-hmm.
It did not exceed my expectations, but I really hope to see these two have more matches in the future.
Yeah.
AJ's after the match, can't you see how hard this is for me?
Yeah, they were going for the shake.
The handshake. Yeah. And Seth looked at it and he relented and shook AJ's hand. But it really was a good match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, did anyone really think this wasn't going to be a good match?
Yeah.
I
think that they did what we said that they should do and let them have. They went for about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a little bit longer, but we're not going to have a New Japan style match on this card, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I mean, this was the saving grace for this show, honestly.
Actually, the longest match on the card, which is
for good reason.
Yeah, which was great, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I would have preferred that this match actually go on second to last and had the Kofi Kingston and Kevin Owens match before this one, but I think it was fine. I definitely think that the AJ and Seth match, again, I'm rating it about 4.25 to 4.5, somewhere within that dimension.
Yeah. I was sitting right around the 3.5 to 4 star range.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, just because, I mean, I kind of was expecting a little bit more. Not to say it was a bad match or that it didn't deliver or anything like that, but I guess maybe that's because of the pretty much everything else that's happening around Money in the Bank.
Yeah. They did, to your credit, they did spend quite a bit of the match in the first and second gears and then ramped it to the next level as the match was closing down. And I mean, I think that it peaked pretty well. Could they have obviously done a better job? I mean, yes. It was not perfect.
Yeah.
Nor are there many matches that are.
Right.
But I think for what they were given and considering everything else that came before it, I think it was well worth at least watching this match.
Yeah. No, I mean, really solid match. 3.5 stars from me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
WWE's, I do want to make a quick note on this here real quick. The way that they structure their shows is very strange.
Yeah.
Because ideally speaking, you want it to crescendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want it to be like, okay, and the main event's the big thing, right? But they layer these things to where it's like, okay, well, here's a bunch of really awesome stuff, and then here's something boring for you to just get your appetite, to cleanse your palate, if you will. And that's what this next match kind of felt like, was Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens was the palate cleanser between AJ and Seth and the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Which, I mean...
Let me just tell you, WWE, I have an appetite, okay?
Right.
Give me solid wrestling, I'll eat it up.
Right.
That's not the problem,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think I probably, in retrospect, I probably would have rated Kofi versus Kevin Owens a bit higher if it did come before Rollins and Styles.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Kofi and Kevin Owens had a pretty good match. It went about 14 minutes. I rated it about a 3. It did what it needed to do, and potentially kept the feud alive still. I mean, Kofi did get a decisive win here, but I mean, I do see that feud potentially continuing.
Yeah.
A little further down the line here.
Are we just not going to talk about the Lucha House Party?
Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit.
I mean, I'd be fine with skipping it too.
Yeah, I mean, so for some reason they made up a Lucha House Party match. They're like, hey, the following contest is a 6-man match for blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, some reason. And then they were, so Lucha House Party came down the ring with piñatas.
Piñatas full of candy.
They're throwing candy out. Bit strange. And then,
I suppose.
Yeah. And then instead of another, 3-man tag team coming down the ring, because, I mean, let's be honest, I'm not dumb. You're not dumb, Steven. And you, the listeners, are not dumb either. Who else are they going to face? Are they, they can't throw, Corbin, Lashley, and Drew McIntyre in.
I mean, they could.
They could have.
And they usually do. So.
Well, they just sent Lars Sullivan out there and destroyed Lucha House Party. It was interesting, though. At one point, Lars was busted open himself. I want to say one of the Lucha members had some spikes on their mask, and that may have opened him up due to like maybe a headbutt or some contact there. I don't know. But yeah, it was a pretty solid bust up there.
Yeah,
it was definitely not intentional. At least we don't think. So
didn't seem intentional.
It didn't seem intentional. Obviously, this was not a match. It's not going to get a rating. I don't care what any of y'all say. We are just going to move swiftly along.
Fair enough.
to the main event here, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Yeah, that sums things up pretty well. Look, I think it was a great match. It was headed towards 4 stars for me, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, Finn Balor sacrificed his body.
Oh my gosh, there was at least 2 spots where he absolutely, if things had gone wrong, he would have been in like
a lot of pain, a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Ricochet had a crazy bump that he took as well, where Drew McIntyre throws him out of the ring, and Ricochet does the front flip, and he crashes through the ladder, and the ladder breaks in half. I mean, there was a lot of crazy spots in this match.
I think one of the coolest spots was I think it was Corbin powerbombing Finn Balor onto the ladder, but the ladder was like on its side. And he, and he powerbombed him into like the side of the top step, and it just looked like the most painful thing.
Well, and then the other Finn spot was they had the ladder that kind of teed in one part here, and Andrade did a flipping powerbomb from one side of the ladder to the other, powerbombing Finn Balor onto this other ladder that was perched there, and the ladder falls, and Finn bounces off the ladder, and then bounces off of it again. And I was like, dude, that's so tough.
That was such a cool spot, though.
Right. It was very cool.
Such a cool spot.
It was very cool, and I am very sorry for his body. I hope he's doing okay.
Oh, yeah. Have we heard any injury reports from that match? Because there's at least 2 or 3 guys that could be injured after that.
I mean, I would say that him and Ricochet could take things easy for a little bit.
Yeah, and Ali for that matter.
And Ali was doing a lot of work in that match too. So everybody who we thought was going to be doing a lot of work did work. Yeah. Randy had some interesting spots there. Drew McIntyre looked like a monster. Corbin was Corbin.
He is what he is.
So the match crescendos, and let me preface this by saying I was listening to the Wrestling Observer with Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, and according to their reporting, they had the understanding was Ali, I think this was on the Wrestling Observer, but I believe Ali was told that he was going to win the match at the beginning of the night. And then after, right as they were about to go out, they were wizened up to the plan here. Ali is not...
Really, was it as they were going out? It wasn't the night of?
They were about to go out to the ring, and they were wizened up to the plot here. That's allegedly. Again, if I'm confusing my source, I deeply apologize, but that's simply something that I've read. I want to attribute it to the Wrestling Observer. If I'm mistaken that, my bad, guys. I apologize. I'm trying to do my best to report it, but there's a lot of news going on within around Money in the Bank. It was very kind of confusing. I heard that backstage it was utter chaos. But
it doesn't surprise me.
Let's get into the crescendo of the match here. Mustafa Ali is climbing the ladder. He's headed towards the briefcase. He has the clear to get the briefcase. And then Brock Lesnar's music hits. And the whole energy of the arena is sucked out instantly, vacuumed. For whatever reason, Mustafa Ali is just looking at Brock Lesnar. Like, you have all the time in the world, just take the effing briefcase down, okay? Just take it down and run. But he doesn't. He stands there staring, and of course, Brock gets him off the ladder. Brock climbs the ladder. Brock takes down the briefcase. And it was probably one of the worst endings of a pay-per-view that I can recall.
Yeah.
Because, in essence, for me, and this is maybe a really meta thing, but it's like, this perfectly encapsulates everything about Brock Lesnar's career in the last 3 years. You had guys who are the future of the company, guys who could be huge stars, but no, you decided to make them all stepping stones for Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Guys who sacrificed their bodies in a crazy dangerous match, and it was all for naught. It was to make way for Brock. And, I mean, like I said, this match was going to 4-star territory for me. I mean, I can only give this 3 stars just because, again, I don't agree with that decision. Just as a fan, as someone who's reporting and reviewing this show here, and for you, the listeners, if I'm wrong, please, again, let us know. But to me, that just made the show so much more sour.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, it's not. Psychology tells you you're going to remember the first things that you saw and the last things that you saw, right? When it comes to like watching a TV show or whatever, watching a TV series, people who are Game of Thrones fans will tell you as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole Brock thing just iced it on the cake for me.
Yeah.
I just did not agree with anything on this show. I'm giving that match 3 stars, and overall, I'm giving the entire show a C-. Be blessed I didn't give you a D or an F.
Yeah.
Because it definitely deserved it.
Yeah, so this match was... It's so effing sad what happened. Because you have these guys that are out here sacrificing their bodies, putting in in all intents and purposes, an insanely good match.
It was good.
They're having a great match.
Yeah, it was good.
Before Brock, 4 stars. 100%.
Yeah.
It was a really, really great match. Post Brock...
Steven's at a loss for words.
It's one of the saddest... This is the worst thing that WWE has done since I restarted watching wrestling.
The worst show ending.
Yes,
okay.
100%. I don't want to go too hard on it because I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but this is the biggest FU to WWE fans.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Vince McMahon.
Hardcore fans.
Fans.
There's a lot of people out there who are perfectly fine with the result. A lot of casual fans, a lot of Brock Lesnar fans. But that's
a fair distinction. I'll rephrase.
Yeah, the show was definitely divisive at best.
Yeah.
So people are gonna set up their camps and they're gonna tell you one way or the other whether or not they liked it. I think you and I can agree that we're not in that camp.
No, absolutely not. The ending of that match unfortunately brings the rating of the show down to a D for me.
Well, let's ask an important question here. Let's move on from the show, or the Money in the Bank show. Super Showdown is just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've teased whether or not Brock is going to cash in on Kofi or whether he's going to cash in on Seth. Apparently, he's got an open contract to cash in on either one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to one situation here in a little bit, but it's almost certain, in my opinion, that Brock will cash in at some point. And I believe it will be against Seth Rollins. Personally, I could be wrong, but do you think Brock Lesnar would defeat Seth Rollins if he was to cash in? Will Brock be reclaiming the Universal title?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I really don't think that that's a very smart decision. That of course is an opinion coming from a hardcore fan, not necessarily the casual fan that they're selling this storyline to.
Someone who's not Brock Lesnar's biggest fan.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
I mean, look, my better judgment says they should not do this.
But my knowledge says yes, it will happen.
I wouldn't put it past them to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm just at a loss for words with this situation, man. Like, I really, honestly just can't believe they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But that's the card that we're dealt here.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. So we have the Super Showdown coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
They did this really weird. And on Raw, they said Brock will announce next week who he'll be facing. So a week from now, next Raw he'll be supposedly announcing who he'll be cashing in on. I mean, they don't necessarily have to have Brock cash in the Money in the Bank. They might just say Brock's facing Seth at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And he keeps the Money in the Bank briefcase, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would say that if that's the case, then Seth would keep the title.
Yeah.
I think Seth would defeat Brock clean, and then you could have Brock cash in at... I forget it. I'm not going to put this out into the universe. I don't think it's going to be good for anybody if I say what I have in my mind.
Go ahead. We'll knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Seth would defeat Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown. Brock would still have the Money in the Bank briefcase here, and then by the time SummerSlam rolls around, Seth will have a match with somebody else, and then at the end of the show, Brock Lesnar cashes in and kills Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And takes the Universal title off of him. And it's not going to be pleasant.
No, honestly, at this point, I do think Brock is going to cash in on Seth Rollins. He's going to reclaim the Universal title. Apparently, Seth Rollins' reign was only good for a WrestleMania moment, and
I think we all could have seen the writing on the walls for that one, to be perfectly honest, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so here's the other thing, too. And this kind of tips their hand, and I don't know in what direction we're going to go here, but Dolph Ziggler returned on SmackDown, which is cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Glad to see him back. He returned, laid waste to Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
And then cut a very emotional promo saying that he's going to be the next WWE champion. That would be nice. I think it would be good to see. It'd be a very interesting change of pace. And I think Dolph is a good opponent for Kofi. Whether or not Dolph will take the title back, we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, let's do this. Let's play a little bit of face turn, heel turn, Steven.
Right on.
So what better way to start here? Dolph Ziggler returns. He'll face Kofi Kingston. Face turn, heel turn. Dolph Ziggler winning the title.
Face turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that. I do think that Dolph Ziggler and Kofi could have a good feud going on. So, I mean, whether they start the feud and Dolph eventually ends up with the title, or Kofi keeps retaining over and over again, and whatever. I do think that it could be a cool storyline. Really, I'm just excited to have another face that I recognize back.
Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of the same faces a lot recently, so it's nice to have someone fresh.
Yes. Well, and we should preface, obviously, the name of the game, face turn, heel turn. Face turn is obviously something that you want to see, something that you're in favor of. Heel turn is something that you're totally against.
Yeah.
It's on the down slope. It's kind of like buy or sell, or good cop, bad cop, whatever you want to play. But yes, I'm going face turn as well. I like the idea of this match. I like Dolph Ziggler returning. I think Kofi's a good opponent for Dolph. I think Dolph's a good opponent for Kofi.
Yeah.
Do I see the title changing hands? Maybe not. I think Kofi might actually retain here. Maybe they go into a larger program with Dolph and Kofi. Maybe they bring Kevin Owens back into the fold here. Maybe it's a three-way thing.
That'd be cool.
I think it would be cool. Because obviously Daniel Bryan would have initially had that spot, but now he's in the tag division.
Right.
It'll be interesting. That's for sure. Also on this card is a 50-man battle royal. A 50-man battle royal.
Probably the biggest heel turn of my whole life.
It's going to be the cluster of clusters.
That's too much, guys. Come on now.
Look.
Come on now.
Look, last year they had a 50-man Royal Rumble. Okay, sure.
Cool.
Fine. But now you're going to put 50 men in the same ring at the same time.
Are y'all going for like a world record or something? Like, are you just trying to get as many bodies in one ring as possible?
I don't know.
I don't even know how this match is going to go down. Like, you can't move.
Like, you're going to have 50 guys in, and then immediately people are just going to start falling out because there's just too many guys in the
there's
ring.
going to be like 25 guys in the ring in like 30 seconds. I don't know.
There's not going to be any room for anybody to work.
No.
I just don't know.
Super big heel turn. This is dumb.
Heel turn all the way. I don't. Who came up with this idea?
I don't know.
Demon Finn Balor will defend the IC title against Andrade. Steven's not in his head.
Face turn.
Yeah.
These guys are awesome. We've been saying for a long time that just a series of matches with these guys would be some of the best that WWE's put on in a while.
Yeah.
And it's going to be.
Well, and Andrade had a great match with Mustafa Ali on SmackDown.
He also had the best performance in the Money in the Bank match, in my opinion.
I agree. Andrade was great at Money in the Bank in that ladder match. So yeah, I look forward to this here. It'll be for the IC title. I really hope these guys get a good amount of time.
I'm glad we're getting Demon Finn again.
Yeah, Demon Finn.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I don't necessarily think he needed to.
Yeah. Maybe the Saudis were like, oh yes, Demon Finn is good.
Demons. We like the demons.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's more Russian.
They're Russians. They're Russians now. Maybe they're operatives. I don't know.
Who knows?
Face turn, heel turn. Randy Orton versus Triple H in a no holds barred match.
Face turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna kind of be like that WrestleMania match with Batista and Triple H.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting much from it. It's gonna be a fine match.
They're familiar with each other.
Yeah.
I'm going face turn, though. Look. It's hard for me to give it a full face turn here.
Mm-hmm. Give it a cheek turn.
Yeah, cheek.
Yeah. Cheeky cheek turn.
Little cheeky face turn here. Look, the guys are familiar with each other, though this has had no build.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, hey, they're having a match.
Yeah.
But for me, this is 10 years too late. We can go all the way back.
That's a very good point.
We can go all the way back to WrestleMania 25. We had Randy Orton challenging Triple H, and Randy Orton in the whole program ruined Triple H's life.
Yeah.
Like, he was invading his house. He was attacking Stephanie. He was attacking Vince. He was attacking everybody. And you wanted this match to be no disqualifications. You wanted Triple H to get his hands on Randy and destroy him.
Yeah.
But no, Triple H is walking to the ring before this match goes off, and somebody stops him and tells him, hey, listen, Hunter, you're going to have to keep your cool, because if you disqualify yourself or if you get counted out, you'll lose the title. It's the exact opposite stipulation of what you would have wanted.
Yeah.
It blows my mind that they even made that a stipulation. So I guess 10 years later now, they want to make up for it and give us the Randy Orton Triple H match with no build and make it no disqualification.
It's really funny that you bring that up.
It's Bizarro World WWE. I just don't understand.
That's a really good point. The match is going to be fine.
It'll be fine.
But yeah, there is no build up for sure. I'm sorry, Tanner.
It's fine.
Hey, at least you're getting the match 10 years later.
Hey, did you know, and I only heard this about 500,000 times between Monday and Tuesday, that Super Showdown is supposed to be as good as or better than WrestleMania? They told us that 500,000 times.
Yeah.
I hope that these matches will live up to that hype.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
They really want you to forget that it's in Saudi Arabia. They won't even tell you that it's in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
They'll tell you it's in Jeddah.
Jeddah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the name. Sure.
If I wasn't on a wrestling podcast, probably wouldn't watch it. If I'm being honest, but
Well, so let me ask you this here: face turn, heel turn, Goldberg versus The Undertaker.
I don't even know. Cool. I don't care. Let Undertaker enjoy his retirement.
Yeah.
Quit bringing him out.
He's gonna make a lot of money.
Good for him, but
so is Goldberg.
Cool. I don't care. I don't even want to give it a face turn, heel turn.
I'll give it a face turn and say it was 20 years too late.
I'm gonna go with face turn just because I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but I'm also, I guess, not for it. I don't know.
So, I mean, yeah, I'll give it a default face turn.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask a bonus question here.
Yeah.
Who's going over in this match, Steven?
Undertaker.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
You don't think Goldberg's going to come out and just, like, maul him, spear, jackhammer, it's over?
Nah. Who the hell's Goldberg?
Fair enough. Moving right along, of course. AEW Double or Nothing is this Saturday, and I pray to God that it's much better than Money in the Bank.
By default, it's going to be. You could just have Cody Rhodes come out and just say a bunch of stuff on the mic, and it'd be better than Money in the Bank.
I think there's genuine interest here. I think people are seeing it as a definite alternative. And if you want more of our opinions and rundown on the card, please check out last week's episode. Thrice Baked Potato.
Great name.
That's a wonderful name.
Yeah. That's Cody Rhodes, if you couldn't tell. He's the Thrice Baked Potato.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We did have some technical difficulties, as Steven noted earlier, but hey, if you just listen to it with some earbuds or over-the-ear headphones, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I think it turns out just fine.
Yeah.
But yes, Thrice Baked Potato. Check that out for our Double or Nothing review from last week. Also, later on this week, we will have another episode where we'll be reviewing Double or Nothing. It's going to be fantastic, I'm sure. It's going to be a nice show. Yeah. I think you and I are going to have a great time reviewing this.
I think so, too.
But we'll also do a preview episode on Sunday for NXT TakeOver 25.
Yes.
Which will be next Saturday, June the 1st. And that card looks sick.
Oh, man, I'm so excited.
So you know, we've got matches like Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. We've got a 4-way tag team ladder match for the vacant tag titles.
Chaos.
Yeah. Tyler Breeze made his return, and he'll be facing Velveteen Dream.
Yep.
Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong. And then, of course, Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler. So we'll get all into that on...
Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong. It could be match of the night.
It could be a dark horse for match of the night for sure. It could even be a match of the year candidate if they let all the reins go. If Triple H is like, let's show Vince.
Yeah, right.
You know, let's show Vince what we're made of.
Yeah, they've been showing Vince for months now.
Years one could argue.
Yeah. Anyways,
so yeah, we'll preview that on Sunday's episode of Headlock Talk, for sure. Let's get to some if wishes were fishes here, Steven. Yes. We've had a week to think about this. We've had a week to go over Money in the Bank, and we've watched a lot of good wrestling. If wishes were fishes here, Steven.
Yeah. So set up my if wishes were fishes.
So let me preface this. This is just things that we wish would happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we rate it in terms of fish.
Yeah. So this
That's
is
something.
This is probably the only way that they could redeem themselves for the catastrophe that happened at the end of Money in the Bank. If wishes were fishes, Brock Lesnar does not cash in on Seth Rollins. Instead, Brock Lesnar cashes in on Kofi. Sorry, Kofi. I love you, but it is what it is. Really? Cashes in on Kofi.
Okay.
Defeats Kofi. And then, maybe at SummerSlam or whatever, we have a unification match. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. Seth beats him down, goes over, and then they unify those titles finally.
That's interesting. That's definitely an interesting...
I know it's super convoluted, but I'm trying to figure out a way that they can salvage what happened at Money in the Bank.
Yeah. I mean, look, I like the idea, and I really, really do like the idea of starting to unify these titles because, let's be honest, there's just so many titles right now. Yeah. There's too many.
And some of them mean nothing at this point.
A lot of them don't mean anything because they've booked it very poorly.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna, you know what? I really do like that that wish.
Well, thank you.
I think it's a solid wish. It's so solid that I'm gonna rate it 5 rockfish because that's a rock solid. That's a rock solid wish.
That's beautiful. I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
That's great.
If wishes were fishes, I've watched a lot of New Japan this week, right? A lot, and I'm psyching myself up for AEW. But as I'm watching New Japan's Best of the Super Juniors tournament this week, there's one guy who I keep seeing over and over and over again, and he's a star. He's such a star, and I've talked about him before on this show. But Bandito, Bandito is so good, and I know that AEW wants to have a partnership, and I know that AEW wants to reach out to New Japan, and obviously it's going to be hard with Bandito actually being a Ring of Honor talent. But I'm thinking of 3 guys who they will have contracts running out over the next year or two that I think should move on from Ring of Honor. I'm thinking Bandito, of course. I'm thinking Jeff Cobb from Ring of Honor and Mark Haskins. If Bandito, Jeff Cobb, and Mark Haskins, if once their contracts expire in Ring of Honor, if they moved on to AEW, I would be so excited. Bandito, he gets the adoration of the crowd wherever he goes. He's an excellent in-ring performer. He main evented the first All In. So there's your ticket right there. In a year or two's time, when he gets out of his Ring of Honor contract, I think he would be fantastic signing for them. Jeff Cobb is another very impressive guy who I've seen a lot of from Ring of Honor, PWG. He's even been in New Japan for a bit. Excellent amateur wrestling background, really awesome talent. And then Mark Haskins, of course, he's also signed for Ring of Honor exclusively in the U.S. At least he can still perform in the U.K. Obviously with other promotions, but Mark Haskins is an amazing talent as well. If given the proper time and if you can let him be him. It was only 3 years ago where he was like the most over guy in all of the UK, and I think I
like Mark Haskins.
Mark Haskins is really good talent.
Yeah.
So please, if wishes were fishes, AEW, please sign those 3 guys. Please sign Bandito and Jeff Cobb and Mark Haskins. I think they would be super beneficial to your roster, and you could really make 3 big stars out of these guys.
Yeah. No, I really like that wish. That's a good one. Mark Haskins, his in-ring moves, he reminds me a lot of Edge.
Really?
And like the way he moves. Not necessarily like the way he acts, but just like the way he's very like... He's very weaselly in a lot of scenarios.
He's definitely good at like reversing, and he's very aggressive. He's very aggressive in his movement. So I can see maybe with even like the blonde hair and like the it's kind of the goatee thing going on, maybe a little bit of Edge in there.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, he's a lot more, I will say he's a lot more technically sound than Edge ever was.
Yeah.
For sure. They definitely don't have the same movesets, but and Mark Haskins is significantly smaller than Edge, which isn't a bad thing. It's just he's just different. But yeah, plus you have Jimmy Havoc in AEW now, and there's that Jimmy Havoc Mark Haskins connection because they tag teamed a lot and they faced each other a lot. I think that Mark Haskins just has a really good fit in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Bandito again, of course. He's over wherever he goes, and Jeff Cobb is a monster. You can use a guy like Jeff Cobb on any roster on earth.
Well, Tanner, that's a beautiful wish. If those 3 were...
Thank you, Steven.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If those 3 were to get signed to AEW, that would definitely be a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And because it's beautiful, I'm going to give you 4 elegant fire gobies.
Whoa.
Because...
What does that even look like?
It looks like that.
Holy cow.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's
pretty beautiful.
That's pretty sweet looking.
It's pretty beautiful. So four elegant fire gobies for that. That would be really, really cool. And there's a lot of feuds that you could do with those guys too.
Yeah. Dude, can you imagine Kenny Omega versus Bandito? Or
Mark Haskins versus Cody.
Mark Haskins versus Cody would be great. Jeff Cobb versus anybody.
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb could just have amazing matches all the way around.
That would be really awesome. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to make my second one short.
Okay.
Super quick, short to the point.
Yeah.
That was a weird phrase. Anyways, if wishes were fishes, the 24/7 title wouldn't be as ugly as it is. It's really not good.
Yeah.
It's really not good. I really, really like the premise of it. But man, they look like, it looks like they took no time at all on that belt.
Yeah, it looks like somebody took like a default boxing title.
Yeah.
And then like edited it in Microsoft Paint.
Yeah.
And then like
pretty
just
much.
like put like 24/7.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, done deal, let's go ahead and get this thing printed out.
It's so ugly.
It was not good.
The only redeeming quality of that belt is that the actual leather is green.
Right.
I think that's cool. But my God.
Well, and I feel bad for Mick Foley because he comes out and he introduces the 24/7 title, and it's like the crowd reaction was like half silence and then half boos.
Ooh.
And like I cringed. I actually cringed in my seat as he unveiled the title. And I was just like, poor Mick, man, you deserved a lot better than this.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of just let him out there, and I think people expected the hardcore title, which, I mean, that's on everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if they expected something different, I mean, that's kind of on you.
Don't expect anything from WWE
at this point. Don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Just
don't assume anything.
Accept whatever they're giving you.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. They could have spent a whole lot more time on that.
Yeah.
For sure. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. And in honor of hitting the nail on the head, I'm going to give you 3 hammerhead sharks. Because you nailed that one, buddy.
Man, I really tried with the segue on mine, and you just, like, your segues are so much better than mine.
It's weird. I think my brain just operates in terms of segues. I don't know.
Fair enough. How many hammerhead sharks was it?
3, I think.
3.
Yeah.
Out of?
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Couldn't get that many hammerhead sharks together at once.
Right, they'd all be banging into each other. Yeah. Especially if they're trying to get like through the door in a bar or something like that.
Yeah. Now I'm like imagining a bunch of hammerheads trying to squeeze into like the Krusty Krab.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they've got like the shutter doors like in a saloon. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. If wishes were fishes, I wish that we get a surprise appearance from somebody at Double or Nothing to face Adam Page.
Who is this somebody, Mr. Tanner?
I mean, I've got two people in mind. I mean, my default says John Moxley.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
I mean, supposedly CM Punk is doing a commentary for an MMA event that night, so he is apparently taken for the evening.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't have that been great?
That would have been fantastic.
Adam Page versus CM Punk or Adam. I'm sorry, John Moxley. But we do have a lot of surprises otherwise in terms of the Battle Royal. So we could see some surprise entrance there. Maybe John Moxley's in that instead. But I do hope that we get some surprises, and I do hope that we get an awesome surprise for the Adam Page match. There have been people who have been calling him out. Adam Page over Twitter. That, they said that I want to face him. Tamatonga from the Bullet Club said, "Hey, I'm free. I'll face him. I'll fly in." Joey Ryan said that he'd face him, which again I smiled a lot whenever he said that. I was like, "Yeah, go get him, Joey." I hope that it's Joey Ryan. I really do. Right. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I hope it's him, because I think that if you're going to give the crowd John Moxley, I'd rather it be in the Battle Royal so that he can win the Battle Royal, because now the stipulation is the winner of the Battle Royal will face the winner of Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho for the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Championship.
Very cool. Okay.
So I could see it being Moxley versus Kenny. I don't see it being Moxley versus Jericho, but if Kenny wins and goes over on Jericho at Double or Nothing, him versus Moxley would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Be a nice surprise.
I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of surprises that night, regardless.
Yeah, no, 100% for sure. Definitely some good surprises. It'd be really cool.
Yeah.
If you want a aquatic surprise, I can give you 6 pufferfish.
Hey, there we go.
Because it's always a surprise.
And
I mean, I guess not always.
And because we're blowing it up.
Boom.
Done.
Nailed it.
Hey, look at that.
Man, sign that off. Done.
Hey, you got that segue in, man.
It was okay.
I liked it.
It was okay.
I liked it.
It wasn't like nailing.
Hey.
I didn't nail it like the hammerhead shark.
Hey, man. That's what wishes or fishes are for.
Fair enough.
Hey, man. We let's close out the show as we always do in kind here with our mailbag section.
Woohoo!
Yes. So as per usual, we get your requests in by mail, and Steven's had a peek into the mailbag here, ladies and gentlemen. So you guys send us your questions, and we read them out on air, and we give you a shout out.
That's a really good one.
Steven's tickled by this first one, so I'll go ahead and read it. So this one is sent in by Clotheslined. On Twitter. On Twitter, they are at Clotheslined with 2 D's on the end there. They ask, if global warming is real, then why is Steve Austin still Stone Cold? They say it's stolen from a meme that they saw, but definitely made me chuckle.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, Steven's got the giggles.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I would say maybe now that we have global warming, maybe Stone Cold should be like slightly chilled Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Or room temperature Steve Austin.
Room temperature Steve Austin.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah. I mean, Stone Cold is a great name, but yeah.
Yeah.
Slightly chilled or room temperature. I hope we don't get any warmer. Maybe we need to cool off a bit so Steve can get his gimmick back.
Yeah. I definitely don't want him to not be Stone Cold.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't want him to be warm Steve Austin.
Warm Steve Austin.
Or overheated Steve Austin or something.
300 degrees Steve Austin. Steven's cracking up. So thank you for your question, Clothesline. We appreciate you sending that in. Protect the Business Podcast on Twitter. They are at PTB Wrestling. On Twitter, they ask, should Becky have lost both belts at Money in the Bank, and are you happy with the Bayley cash-in? I definitely don't think that Becky should have dropped the Raw title. I think that her retaining over Lacey Evans was the right decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, and I'm not trying to be too hard on Lacey, but with taking the match at face value with the ring work that was in there, it really wouldn't make sense for Lacey to have won.
I would agree. I would agree. I mean, am I happy with the Bayley cash-in? Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I like it. Would it have been more intriguing, perhaps, if Becky had perhaps retained both titles, and then, maybe Becky holds up the belts just like she did at WrestleMania, and then as her back is turned, then Bayley's music hits, and Bayley just marches out to the ring and then holds up her Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah.
And just reminds Becky. I think that would have been an interesting visual.
Absolutely.
But given what they did, Bayley winning the title revived the crowd.
Yes, definitely.
And for an otherwise really crappy show, unfortunately, in our opinion.
Right.
Again, if you have a differing opinion, please let us know.
Everyone's entitled to one.
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yep.
But yes, Becky helped revive that show, in my opinion. Or Bayley, rather, helped revive that show.
Right.
So, again, thank you for your question, Protect the Business Podcast.
Yep, thank you guys.
Our friends Anthony and Alex at AA Talk Stuff on Twitter, they ask, what is the best one-on-one ladder match of all time? Man, that is a heck of a question.
Goodness.
It was such a good question that I actually kind of had to do some digging around, and I found I would say there's about 5 or 6 matches that one could consider the best one-on-one ladder matches of all time. Because I mean, let's be honest, there's just a lot of good choices. First one that comes to mind is Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker from Raw in 2002. When I think of Jeff Hardy's best match, that's the best match that comes to mind. And Jeff Hardy's the king of the ladder matches. He stood toe to toe with Undertaker. They had the one-off story. Can Jeff hang with the Undertaker? Undertaker was in full American badass mode, destroying people left and right, and they had a ladder match on Raw for the title, and there was there was some excellent action. It resulted in one of JR's most memorable lines, climb kid, get up there, make yourself famous, and Jeff was fingertips away from grabbing the title and beating Undertaker. It was a classic in my opinion. Edge and Jeff Hardy had great tag team ladder matches, of course, but they also had a great one-on-one tag match or one-on-one ladder match and I think that's how Jeff won the title at one point at Extreme Rules 2009. I think that also resulted in the CM Punk cash-in for his Money in the Bank, cashed in on Jeff Hardy. Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit from Royal Rumble 2001. I know we don't like to bring up Chris Benoit a whole lot on the show for obvious reasons.
Not too much,
but they had a classic ladder match for the Intercontinental title. An amazing spot where Chris Jericho is giving Benoit the walls of Jericho on top of the ladder, like arching his back and everything. Is a stunning visual here. I'm pulling up the picture for Steven.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Great ladder match there. Really made it stand out. Another Chris Jericho ladder match was against Shawn Michaels in 2008. They had a great match at No Mercy to cap off their feud. And then, of course, continuing the trend with Shawn Michaels here, he had a pair of really great ladder matches with Razor Ramon. It's hard for me to pick out just one out of those bunches because I just went over like 6 different matches. But I would say my personal favorite, best ladder match of all time is the Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy one. Just in terms of drama, it was the best ladder match. Ladder matches seemed to be a bit cold sometimes, a little bit, just not just lacking of psychology or anything like that, but they just come off of really cold and not with a lot of intensity sometimes. The in-ring action is great, but the psychological drama is sometimes lacking there.
Yeah.
I feel like that match exceeded both expectations. It was great in-ring psychology, great drama, great build-up, great match. I mean, and then The Undertaker raised Jeff Hardy's hand after the match.
Nice.
Yeah. Undertaker still won, but he raised Jeff Hardy's hand out of respect.
Yeah. Always like seeing that.
Perfect ending.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just my take.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm having a hard time picking out a ladder match really on the spot.
I mean, there's some good ones.
There's some good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did take a look at some. The one that stands out to me would be the Edge versus Jeff Hardy in 2009. I remember specifically what?
I was just giving you a thumbs up.
That was a good one, yeah. This was actually I stopped watching very soon after this.
Yeah.
Just fizzled out. But I do remember this one going down.
So this was clear in your mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and both those guys are really good at ladder matches.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
It's definitely one of the classics of all time. Ladder matches being a relatively new kind of thing in wrestling, even though it's been around for a little bit. There is definitely guys who specialize in these kind of things here.
Right.
Moving swiftly along here, Ellis John Hudson, he's at mushroom_Hudson on Twitter, asks, what do you think about the 24/7 championship? Steven covered this pretty well in If Wishes Were Fishes.
Yeah.
I think it's a fine concept.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that they could do with it. The belt's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what people's criticism, and I'm guilty of this, I'm sure I am, for sure. I think a lot of the criticism towards the 24/7 championship is just based on what your expectation of what this mystery title would have been in the first place.
Right.
But I think that there's room for this to become interesting. I think that it should be, it should definitely have its place. What they make of it will remain to be seen.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's a really cool idea. Like you said, depending on where they go with it and how they want to develop it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the belt is freaking horrendous. It's super ugly. It's one of the ugliest belts I've seen. But the concept is really, really cool. And I hope that this belt in particular is really kind of just a fun, like, throwaway kind of belt. Not necessarily, like, throwaway is not the right word.
Yeah.
But just keep it fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a serious blood feud over this belt. Just like,
I'd like that. A serious blood feud over the 24/7 title. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I just keep it fun.
Yeah.
Like the clamor when it was initially announced or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Keep it coming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it speaks volumes to kind of, and I'm not trying to put anybody down.
Yeah.
But the kind of guys that you see going after the 24/7 title when they launched the thing, it was already guys that were already buried on the roster.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit discouraging.
But
I feel.
But we saw them.
But we saw them. That's true.
know?
And they're getting TV time, which
Yeah.
is great for them, right? I think there's a lot that you can do. I will say, to your point, I think a blood feud over the 24/7 title would be hilarious. But that's just me, perhaps.
Yeah.
So thank you for your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Last Draft Standing on Twitter. Again, they are at Last Draft Stand on Twitter. They ask, do you think a Bayley heel turn and cash in on Becky rather than Charlotte would have been a good way to freshen up her character as a champion?
Yes.
Interesting, Steven.
Yes, I do think that. Just because at this point, I like Bayley, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm not getting everything out of her. I don't know, that she's not really putting forth everything that she has. And I do think that possibly a heel turn is a good way to freshen her up. I don't know. I think Bayley could be an awesome heel, honestly.
Yeah.
And we need some more heels.
True. We do need good heels, too. Though I do like the idea of Bayley being a face champion and possibly Sasha coming back and being like, I came back for a reason. You're taking up the spotlight. And if you play it like that, I'm just spitballing, obviously. But I greatly prefer heel Sasha to heel Bayley in that regard. I think you can still play up, Bayley being a sympathetic champion. To me, Bayley's a lot like John Cena. It's hard to turn her heel because she appeals to the kids so much.
Right.
But I think heel Sasha would be awesome. And I think you could really make Sasha really demented and going after Bayley, and it becomes a blood feud like we were talking about with the 24/7 title.
Yeah.
But this one would be taken a lot more seriously, and I think that Sasha putting over Bayley ultimately in the feud would really put Bayley over and get her stock a lot higher and freshen up the character just in that way.
For sure. I can agree with that.
Yeah, freshening up a character can be about feuds, not just like, I'm going to have to turn you heel to make you fresh.
Right.
Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So
no, I can agree with that. I just think heel Bayley would be interesting, and I think she could do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up our mailbag with a first-time writer.
Hello.
Zachary Silo. You can find Zachary on Twitter at ZachShy130. He says, hello, first-time commentator of your show. I have a question that could wait until the overall show was reviewed. With Seth now Mr. Money in the Bank, what
you mean Lesnar?
Who did I say?
Seth.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, Zachary. With Lesnar now Mr. Money in the Bank, what do you see happening to him?
So, is it what do I see happening to him, or is it what do I want to happen?
Fantasy book it, Steven.
Fantasy book it? Well, I mean, I kind of already covered this in the If Wishes Were Fishes. I would love to have him cash in on Kofi. Him and Seth have one final match.
Yeah.
Seth pins him clean, unify the titles.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is going to happen is Brock Lesnar is going to cash in on Seth Rollins and become the Universal Champion again because apparently WWE hates me.
Oh, that's sad. Well, since you had that little thing right there, I'll also say what I wish would happen and what I think will happen. Okay. What I wish will happen is that. Okay.
This is gonna be good.
Just follow me here.
I'm following.
Raw's about to close, and Becky Lynch is out there with the Women's Raw Championship, and she holds up the title, right? Because they brought up Becky earlier on Raw. They made a reference to Becky and Seth dating, right? Mm-hmm. And so Becky's holding up the title, and then you hear Brock Lesnar, his music come blaring through the speakers.
Okay.
And you're like, what the heck? Is Brock going to attack Becky?
Yeah.
And the ref is out there. And Brock hands over the Money in the Bank briefcase to the referee. He's like, I'm cashing in my Money in the Bank contract opportunity. And the ref's like, I don't know. Can you do that? Can you do that? And then, Paul Heyman makes him ring the bell against his will.
Yeah.
All right. And then Becky...
God dang.
Becky rolls up Brock Lesnar from behind and gets a 3 count. And then the ref calls for the bell, and Paul Heyman's shocked, and his head's in his hands.
Yeah.
And then we all walk home happy.
Yeah. I'd be happy.
I would. It would totally kill all of Brock's credibility.
Yeah.
But I think that would be fun.
100%.
Especially if Seth interfered while the ref was putting the briefcase over it. He comes out with a chair, whacks him, gives him a stomp, and then Becky rolls him up real quick, and the ref's in the ring. He's like 1, 2, 3. That would be great.
See, I thought you were gonna go the route of Brock Lesnar cashing in, getting the women's title, and then ruining that one too.
Only defending it every 3 months.
Every 3 months,
until Nia Jax comes back, and it's the worst feud of 2019 ever. That'd be great. What I do think will ultimately happen is Brock will cash in the Money in the Bank, and he will lose. That's what I think is what's going to happen. Is I think he will lose against Seth.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't remember an hour ago if I said the opposite thing.
No, who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Whatever.
It's a long show.
If you remember what I said earlier in the episode, please feel free to write us on Twitter at Headlock Talk. Again, we are at Headlock Talk, ladies and gentlemen, on Twitter. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube, of course. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button to stay in touch with us and get great content. We are actually going to announce some amazing news here. Steven and I, drumroll please, are going to Wrestle Circus, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap,
This
indeed.
is a real thing.
It's a real thing. We're going to go to Wrestle Circus. We're going to have a little bit of a meet and greet with some of the talent that's out there. The main event is Scorpio Sky from SCU will be he'll be defending his title. I think it's the big Wrestle Circus title against Tessa Blanchard. So it's an intergender main event match there. Okay. Sami Callihan's going to be there. Orange Cassidy's going to be there. The Rascals are going to be there. A couple of our favorites that we just picked up on, Daga and Aerostar will be there. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Colt Cabana's going to be there. Yeah, Colt Cabana's awesome. So we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to report on the show after we go and see it. So definitely check that out, ladies and gentlemen, and stay tuned for further details. But yes, in the meantime, it's been a pleasure to be speaking with you. Again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Headlock Talk. Go to iTunes, go to Spotify, go to Stitcher, go to YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Tell your mom, your daughters, your family members, your friends, your sons, your mailman,
your fathers,
your local PetSmart employee,
your milkman,
your
your hairstylist,
your shoesmith.
Yep.
Tell them all about Headlock Talk. We would greatly appreciate it, y'all. And until next time, I am the Texas gentleman, Mr. Tanner Pruitt, and to my right, the one and only Mr. Stephen Grudy.
Thank you, guys.
All right. You guys have yourselves a great night. We'll talk to you again on Sunday.
Yes, we will. Later, y'all.
Later.